Well, hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Race Week. This is the series where I take a look at what's been going on in motorsport and F1 over the course of the past week. And of course, the big news coming into this week is that Michael Masi has been removed as race director. Yes, I repeat, Michael Masi has been removed as race director. As well, obviously, he had to go. F1 needed a fresh start after the chaos of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, as well, where Masi bent the rules. But at the same time, he was praised in the previous race at Saudi Arabia, and let's not forget that, by positioning Verstappen down in P3 when he overtook, I can't remember, was it overtaking Hamilton or something or other off the track, of course, and then that led to, there was another overtake as well. I'm trying to remember that Saudi Arabia, of course, is round 2 this year, so we're going to have all that. I don't think I'm quite prepared for that early in the season for all that shenanigans again, as well. So he's gone, has been replaced by 2 people, which is a problem. Now, it's a problem because we all know that F1, we've been complaining about, is inconsistency. From most of it from the stewards. For example, we've had issues at Brazil, turn 4, where Verstappen didn't get a penalty where he should have done, compared to that where other incidents at Austria and other tracks throughout the season where drivers were getting penalties. So, you know, I did suggest that we should have, at the very least, some of the stewards should be the same for the entire race series, the entire championship. So, are we going to see discrepancies between the 2 race directors? Well, they are Eduardo Freitas and Niels Wittich. Both of them are experienced, but not in Formula 1. Neither have done pretty much anything with Formula 1 related as well. So, be interesting to see how they step up. Obviously, they've changed a whole load of other stuff as well. So, this is a fresh start for these 2 race directors. They're also going to means that they're going to have Herbie Blash. We'll come to him in just a moment, as well. And part of a wider restructure of race control to aim at providing a calm environment, direct radio communications between the teams and the race director will not be allowed. Now, I agree with this. I don't think the team should have been able to approach the race director. I think there should be a communications director, or whatever title you want to give them. I imagine they're probably talking to Herbie as well, although I don't know how that's quite going to work out. But basically, F1 has also, the FIA rather, have announced that you're not going to be able to hear the teams talk to race control, so we're not going to be able to hear their requests, which I don't agree with personally. I think we should still be able to listen to those messages. I think that's hiding a potential wider issue that the teams are going to have with race control, especially if you've got Eduardo Freitas, as I say, World Endurance Championship, and Niels Wittich, former DTM race directors, especially if there's inconsistency between the 2 over the course of the season. Then I think F1 might hit a problem. They will be assisted by Herbie Blash, who's about 5,000 years old at this point. I mean, he was the previous assistant race director to Charlie Whiting between 1996 and 2016, or somewhere in the mid-90s to 2016. Obviously, he's come out of retirement to assist and advise both the new race directors, which is a good call. I mean, he's experienced, he knows the sport, he knows how Charlie did things, and that's pretty much what F1 wants, is Charlie Whiting level of race control. there's other stuff that's come out as well. First of all, the safety car unlapping rules. So the safety car rules have been changed, which I don't think they needed to be changed. So lap cars, the lap cars will now be able to take, and the safety car then will do an additional lap after that message has been done, instead of being released on the same lap. But the problem is, this is hiding the issue that the fact that Michael Masi invented his own rules to allow only the 5 cars to overtake and not the other 3 lapped cars. Now, in my opinion, as I've said before, I believe that all of the lap cars should have been able to have overtaken, and I personally still to this day feel that Mercedes were partly at fault for not pitting Hamilton in that under the safety car. That's just my opinion. Obviously everyone's entitled to their own, but at the same time, I do think that doing an additional lap isn't potentially, well, is it going to be useful? I don't think so. There would only be an interest in safety, and there's never been a question of the lap cars being a danger. And if it's necessary, if there is a safety issue, you'd either throw a red flag, or you'd have a scenario where the lap cars wouldn't overtake and they'd bunch everyone behind the safety car. The safety car could slow down even as well. Potentially, as I say, potentially the safety car could slow down. I don't know if they have those rules. I know they have them in Formula E, but you know, there's a whole load of stuff here from Abu Dhabi that the FIA has clearly missed. On top of that, they've also announced that the Q3 tyre rule, which drivers claimed helped top teams, is being dropped for 2022. So that means you'll have a free choice of tyres for everyone, which I think is a little bit of a shame. Obviously, some of the lower down teams like Alpine probably claimed it helped the top teams because they were able to easily qualify on the medium tyres. But at the same time, this is 2022. We don't know who knows who's going to be fastest when we get to Bahrain as well. I just think that, you know, the tyre strategy is a little bit of a shame, because it means that anyone who does qualify in the top 10, the bottom half of the top 10, no longer has an advantage. No longer is, I don't want to say disadvantaged, but sort of being forced to think about their tyre strategy a little bit different, as opposed to everyone doing the same tyre strategy. Which, knowing Pirelli's tyres and how they've been, it'll probably all be a one stop from medium to hards. So is this making F1 races more boring, especially if all the teams have been a little bit naughty with their aerodynamics to make it less easy to follow cars in a straight line, as it may have been suggested as well? We'll have to wait and see. We've also had the Belgian Grand Prix report, which has caused a headache because they've introduced a new point system for when the races cannot, the 100%, between 75 and 100% distance of a race cannot be completed. Now, I disagree with the point system personally. I do agree that one of the big things that was debated is that you need to do they did 2 laps behind the safety car. Absolutely not. That rule has gone, which I agree with. 2 laps or fewer of green flag racing is now the rule. Otherwise, points will not be awarded. But after that, it gets a bit headachy, because they've got these distances now up to 25%, 25 to 50%, 50 to 75, 75 to 100% distance is unchanged from the previous rule. Apparently this rule was introduced, the original half points rule was originally used somewhere in the late 1970s and haven't been revised since. Not even despite the fact we've had numerous points scoring changes over the years. It's only been revised now after all these years. I personally don't like the 25 to. I agree with the up to 25%. Probably want to have some like a sprint race points for that, because that's probably the race they're doing. So why for sprint for up to 25% distance, which at minimum or maximum, well, it depends which circuit you are as well, but you could argue that you don't reward points in those races, because if you're at Spa, for example, where this happened, that's less than 11 laps of green flag racing. So yes, I mean they've awarded less points in the sprint race as well for that, which I don't mind, but the 25 to 50% and the 50 to 75%, I think they could have awarded half points here as well, but they haven't. They've changed the point system and made something up on the spot to satisfy this. I don't like what they've done. I personally think they should have just said 25 to 75%, because that means at 25%, if you've been following my driver career mode, means you get, at Belgium, you get 11 laps of racing. You get at least a quarter of the race distance into the race, and I know that's probably not as far. There's probably not as many overtakes as there are in my driver career mode in that time. There's still going to be some on-track action. They should have just awarded half points. I don't like F1's point system anyway. I think we award too many points. It was a point system that was set up when we could have 26 cars on the grid. Basically, we now award points to half the grid every race, which I don't agree with personally, and I feel that the gap between a win and the second place is slightly too much. And it means also it means that drivers can win and then finish in like 8th, have consistently 8th place finishes, and they're still finish up ahead of someone who's consistently finished up in 4th place all the time. So that's what I don't particularly like the number of points that being. I think there's too many points, and I think there's too many positions that award points currently in Formula 1. Obviously, if they expand the grid, which I'll get to later in the episode, then obviously I agree with that. Yes, that's my rant on the point systems. But now I'm going to move to a couple of car launches. Excuse me. We've got Ferrari, which you're seeing pictures on track. Apart from the bottom right one, which shows Michael. They clearly photoshopped, but they've all pulling weird expressions in that photo as well. The Ferrari, it's the best livery on the grid. Does it make it into the best livery since the license red category? We'll have to wait and see. Mercedes have also been on track as well in the storm units as well. It was while we were all watching planes trying to land at Heathrow Airport. Mercedes were hounding their car around Silverstone as well in their silver. I'm not entirely sure. It's an alright livery. It's not the best on the grid for them as well. They took them 1,000 years as well, but and then Mercedes actually provide us the first onboard of F1 2022. So I'll play a little bit of that for you now. Can't play too much of that, unfortunately. Only the couple of seconds there as well. That's purely because of copyright. Unfortunately, I don't want to be striked for that as well. So we'll move on to the Alpine livery, which is disgusting. What on earth? There were so many good concepts with the darker pink blending in with the blue that we've seen. And then Alpine revealed their fake car. I haven't got pictures of their real car. These are all the fake car. I just don't know. And also, the first two races, we're not going to see their real car because they're putting this pink one on as well. So, yes. I personally think it's one of the worst liveries on the grid, but let me know what you think to that as well. As I say, that tier list is coming. It'll probably be coming out next Tuesday. Next Tuesday's race week will be that tier list as well, and this time next Tuesday as well. Obviously, we had the Alpine launch. Weird things went on with, I don't know what they were trying with this A thing. Trying to improve their branding as well. Of course, Alpine are going to Otmar Shavna as their new team principal as well, which they didn't have a team principal. They had a CEO, Martin, but not CEO, or they had Martin Bazowski. He had some other role. I don't think he was CEO because that's Laura Rossi as well, who's the big man in now, obviously criticised by Alain Prost on his departure. We're going to get to some other news now. We've got Michael Andretti has applied to enter a new F1 team, says his father Mario Andretti, former F1 world champion. Now, I think this would be good for the sport. I definitely think this would be something Liberty Media want to push, because obviously Andretti have ties with Colton Herta, which means it's guaranteed to be one of their seats be going to an American driver as well. Whether there'll be where the other seat will go to, who knows? It will probably pave the way for Haas potentially, or Alfa Romeo, one of those two teams, to not use Ferrari power as well. But we'll have to wait and see if that does happen as well, because Andretti has been obviously has previous links with Ferrari. Mario did anyway, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with that as well. But there are sources in the rumours from the FIA are just going to reject this bid. It is to 2024, so we have got it. I don't believe that. I think they've got until, I think it's next April. Don't quote me on that, until to get their entry in, and then we'll hear from the FIA about the official entry list. We've also had Valentine's Day, and just like this person on Twitter, my Valentine's Day was alone, and there was also this Valentine's Day car floating about. Happy Valentine's Day. Roses are red, violets are blue. No, Michael, no, that wasn't so not right. Imagine being a Red Bull fan, and your husband or wife or girlfriend, boyfriend, or whatever, being a Red Bull fan. Your other half is a Mercedes fan, and they give you that card for Valentine's Day. Would that break up your relationship? Who knows? As well, we've got Valtteri Bottas with a new haircut, taking a leaf out of Niran Yusufu's book. I mean, that man doesn't have a trim at the worst at times. And then to end off with pre-season testing, which starts tomorrow, by the way, we will be able to see flashing images of that, and that's it. Pre-season session, I should say. But apparently, this picture was taken of Red Bull arriving, and apparently, you notice that the Renault badge is missing from the truck. So I don't know if it just fell off, if they took it off. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they took it off, because that's Red Bull for you. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. If you have enjoyed this episode of Race Week, then leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you see plenty more episodes of Race Week. Let me know what you want to see from this series heading into the new season. I haven't quite got a format that has the winning formula yet, so you might see less of this series now that all the car liveries are revealed well, except Alfa Romeo, which I'll cover in the tier list video next week as well. But if you are new around here, then please do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. Until the next video then, I'll see you next time. Take care, thanks so much for watching, enjoy your day, and goodbye.